AITA for not spending this Christmas in the hospital with my daughter? My 39F daughter, 16F, has had a sensitive stomach ever since she was a kid. There are certain foods that will upset her stomach to the point where she's unable to stop throwing up. We've seen countless doctors, but so far nobody's been able to give us a clear answer. The only advice we keep getting is to identify all trigger foods and cut them from her diet. We have a pretty good idea of what those foods are: soda and other carbonated drinks, chips, Cheetos, and other similar processed snacks, anything oily or fried, and most sweets. Unfortunately, this is exactly the kind of stuff my daughter loves to eat the most. And as horrible as she feels after she has them, she still refuses to cut them out of her diet, which in turn led to her spending a lot of time in the hospital during the past few years. When she was little, it was easier to keep all these foods away from her because I simply wouldn't buy them. But now that she's older, I can't always be there to check what she eats. She eats the greasy pizza at her school's cafeteria, she trades her lunch with her classmates, she goes out with her friends and stops to eat at KFC, and so on. And it always ends with her in the ER, crying and shaking because she can't stop throwing up. This was the case on this Christmas Eve as well, when our whole family gathered at our place. And of course, among the many dishes at our Christmas table were some of her main trigger foods, like chips, soda, chocolate, and sweets. Now mind you, these were far from the only foods available to her. We also had a variety of home-cooked, traditional dishes on the table, with ingredients that don't upset her stomach, like vegetables, meat, dairy, etc. All of them delicious and well-seasoned. My daughter herself says she really likes most of these dishes. Despite this, my daughter chose to eat nothing but her trigger foods. I reminded her that they'd make her feel awful, but she said she didn't care, because Christmas is only once a year and she just wants to live a little. Well, this ended with her violently throwing up in the ER a few hours later. She had to be hospitalized for a few days and only just got out of the hospital a few hours ago. And unlike all the previous times when something like this happened, this time I chose to spend my Christmas relaxing at home with the rest of our family, and not in the hospital by my daughter's side. I kept in touch with her through calls and texts, and told her that if she needed anything I'd ask a family member to bring it to her, but I made it clear that I would not be visiting her during her stay. And well, my daughter didn't take this too well. She cried every time we talked on the phone, begged me to come over, told me how horrible I was for abandoning her there all alone, and so on. Most of our family didn't take my side in this either, and during the past few days I got called everything from a little extreme to downright cruel and heartless. AITA, Reddit?
Not sure if I'm gonna be in the minority or get downvoted, oh well, but I'm going with NTA. She's 16 and for sure smart enough and mature enough to know better. As the cliche the saying is, and as much as it's overused on Reddit. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This isn't a case of a 7-year-old that doesn't really know any better. This is a person that will legally be an adult in less than 2 years. She knows full well what she can and cannot eat, and she made a person choice to eat things she shouldn't. While it may seem cruel and heartless. Maybe you leaving her there by herself, obviously, she's not since there was plenty of staff there with her, will be the wake-up call she needs to stop eating the shit that makes her get admitted into the hospital.
This OP is dishing out a little tough love in the most appropriate way. This girl is well aware of her food sensitivities and actively chooses to ignore them to the point of needing to go to the hospital regularly. She needs to control herself around foods she cannot have, and she needs to learn that people, including parents, cannot be expected to drop everything to cater to her every single time she goes to the ER. This is not an emergency situation. This is a terribly controlled, chronic issue. NTA.
I think she needs therapy. She likes getting sick. Because she gets all the attention on her, right where she wants it. This is about being the center of her parents' universe. She figured out how she can have everyone's life revolve around her.
NTA, she willingly did this to herself. She needs to recognize that actions have consequences, and you don't need to be there every single time she decides to harm herself. And yes, this can be considered self-harm because she is willingly hurting herself by eating these foods. If anything, I would have her start seeing a therapist to figure out what's going on and why she keeps self-harming.
Yes, repeatedly engaging in self-destructive behaviors that hurt your body enough to land you in the hospital is something that definitely bears looking into with a professional. Good luck, OP.
NTA, but came here to mention therapy. There's something going on that Reddit isn't going to be able to identify. She's insecure and giving in to peer pressure to eat the foods, or she has impulse control issues, or many other things that I can't even guess at. This is surprising, even for a 16-year-old who isn't yet equipped to make the best decisions.
NTA, because of this, she said she didn't care, because Christmas is only once a year and she just wants to live a little, but she eats the greasy pizza at her school's cafeteria, she trades her lunch with her classmates, she goes out with her friends and stops to eat at KFC and so on. And it always ends with her in the ER, crying and shaking because she can't stop throwing up. This is not a moment of poor judgment because she is a teenager and it's Christmas. She does this regularly and doesn't care how it affects her or others. Now I say NTA because I understand it must be frustrating that your daughter doesn't care of her own health, but you really should talk to her and figure it out why she has no care at all for her own well-being.
NTA and agreeing to all of this. I'm guessing this is just a short example list of what she continues to do to herself. What's the root cause? Adding that if this is in the US, holy cow, I don't even want to imagine what your medical bills look like. Some others have pointed out that she's 2 years away from being a legal adult. Depending on your insurance, she may not be covered for much longer. What's the plan long term?
She's 16, old enough to self-regulate her diet if it causes her severe issues. NAH, but get her into ED-related therapy. This is definitely in ED territory, and because she knows the outcome, it's also self-harm.
I'm coming down on NTA on this one. Your daughter is old enough to know what the effects of her actions are and old enough to take responsibility for them. By your description, it isn't like this is a one-off happening either, with her doing this after outings with friends. If this were the only time in the year, I think my answer might have been different, but she hasn't exactly been the model of restraint or discipline during the year. And her actions have a cost for the whole family.
I have friends that eat cheese all the time knowing it will put them on the toilet because they love cheese. One girl even brags about getting Taco Bell with extra cheese or buying a cheese platter from the store and then complains that her body and booty are out of commission for several days because she can't leave the bathroom. Then she gets better just to turn around and do it again because she can. Some people just don't care how their body reacts.
I can't have caffeine. It gives me heart palpitations. I have family say it's just one glass of tea, it won't kill you. But my mom makes sure the sweet tea is decaf and just doesn't tell anyone. And she is very careful not to mix the two. Would it kill me? No, but it makes me feel awful. My sister's ex was lactose intolerant and would get extra cheese on his pizza. He never complained about the extra bathroom trips, but my sister knows paid the price all night. I never understood it.
Whoa, have you made it till the end? Smash like and subscribe and you could win a $1,000.